So glad you're here. Let's start. Well, hello. It's Virtual Halston with me, Julie Halston, episode 13. I know there's a lot of you out there. You want to see Andrew Rannells. Oh, he couldn't make it. Oh, kidding. He's here. He's with us. It's so fantastic. But before we get to Andrew, I want to say thank you to all of you who were so generous last week. A lot of you know last week was a bit of a difficult time. It was the second anniversary of my late husband's passing. And but Coleman Domingo, Jessica Vosk, Jane Monheit, they were so healing to my soul. They were such fantastic guests. And thank you for all your generosity. We'll be able to send a really nice contribution to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation. So thank you for that. And I want to do a little shout out to our friend Karen Wilburn in LA, who I know just tuned in. And yes, Andrew Rannells is with us today. And I met Andrew when I did Hairspray, you know, the Broadway musical Hairspray. I guess you've heard of it. And he's my friend. Full disclosure, he's my friend. You can be jealous. And he's with us. And, you know, we've been getting into trouble ever since. But speaking of trouble, let me bring on my partner in crime. Where is he? Jim Caruso.
What is wrong with you?
Wait, Jim Caruso, we don't see you. There you are.
I'm here. I swear to God, I literally had my hand over my face. I was. You were making me laugh just sitting here in my grand studio.
Speaking of trouble.
Yeah, my big television studio that's in my apartment.
Oh, look, Karen Wilburn, who we just did a shout out to, said, love you guys so much. Karen.
Hey, Karen.
Hey.
She's in show business.
She's in show business. I actually met Karen Wilburn when she was working for a manager that I had at that time. And I know you know him, Barry Crossed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because at one point he was actually handling Liza Minnelli.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we all got friendly and we've all stayed friendly. And Karen said something to you recently. She said you were on some show or something.
She sent me a picture. This is like 2 minutes ago. Yeah. Do you know the show Chris Lee Knows Best?
I have a lot of opinions about that show.
Yeah, I do too. We have to, well, we'll talk about that later. But evidently, the Franklin Theater that I've played, they showed the theater and my name randomly was on the front of the theater on the marquee. And she just sent it to me 3 minutes ago. So,
I'm just going to say, I think Chris Lee wants to be you, Jim Cruz. Yeah. And that's all I'm going to say about that because I need a lawsuit. But
I know. He might be watching.
And he may be. Oh, I think he should be watching because.
Well, he'd be a fan of yours.
Yeah, I think he could be a big fan of mine. Now, we've got a lot to get to, and you know. I
know so much to talk about.
We're so excited. We're all pumped up. First of all, I want to just tell everyone today I'm drinking red. Yeah, it's good. I don't know why. I just thought red looked pretty with. You know, me, I'm deeply shallow. I'm always involved with the look. By the way, Deborah Burks should take a tip from me. Don't you think? My scarf is a lot better than hers.
For the scarf or for the career move? I think she might be looking to make a change anytime now.
I was saying to you earlier, she just looks too Amish. She just... You know, I just get distracted.
And I know you mean that as a compliment.
As a compliment. I don't want the Amish writing in. People, but
I think there might be a problem.
It's just,
I don't think they have the interwebs.
That's right.
Or toasters, for that matter.
Or you're absolutely right. And they're certainly not drinking. Hi, Ruby. Ruby came on.
Hi. I'm so sorry. Jim, you were frozen for a second, but I fixed it right as I came on. So I'm so...
Oh, Ruby.
Good night.
Curtain. Ruby just flew in like Elphaba
to tell me that I was frozen. Oh my God, it's 2 Broadway musicals in one.
Now wait, Pajama Cast Party, your show on the Cast Party Network. There we go. Oh my God. Oh my God, Jim, that is so fantastic.
Yeah.
That is so great.
It's a big seller.
No, and it will be.
Well,
that you had Diana DeGarmo on the last week. Like 2 days ago.
Yeah, on Monday. Every Monday we do Pajama Cast Party on this very network, we like to call it. And first of all, she and Ace Young, I want to be them. I don't even care which one. They are so appealing and so talented, and I love them. They sang their heads off for me.
They are so winning. But
she played your daughter in Hairspray on Broadway.
Yes, she did. And we had so much fun. And this is the thing I love about her, besides everything. There she was coming in from American Idol, and this is a girl who had a lot of publicity around her, whatever. Hardest working girl, just a pro, just did everything right. She was also just a pleasure to be around. She's just, there are those people, a lot of people in show business belong in a state hospital, but no, it's true.
And they get shows like this.
Because we're crazy. But she's just so delightful. And her husband, woo.
I mean.
Yeah, and of course his name is Ace. Yeah, okay.
The aptly named Ace.
The aptly named Ace. Now, Jim, again, I have something very exciting to tell you about. Okay. I've been talking about my eyelashes.
Oh, this is it. Oh people.
I got
Gird.
I'm going to open them right now for everybody.
Gird your loins. Gird your loins, people.
I'm so excited. Oh, my God. I have so many wispies. Wait, there's just, you can't imagine. First of all, this is just one little package of them, but there's a million of them in here.
Well, we need to explain. Julie enjoys the lashes called Ardell Wispies. And we've talked about it so much that Ardell, whoever that is, sent Julie, what is it, a crate? How do they come?
No, it's in a box, but it's a year's worth supply. And they also included the duo eyelash adhesive.
Oh, thank God.
No, wait, Jim.
It's a happy day at the Halston house.
It's a really happy day. I'm just going through the box. I feel like it's Christmas. I really do. There's so many of them here. Ardell, Jerry Level, thank you so much. I'm very
Ardell Wispy. Julie, there was a moment in time when Ardell Wispy was going to be my equity name.
I actually think it's my stripper name. Ardell Wispy. I mean, doesn't that sound like
I don't know if Wispy is a good last name, but maybe.
I thank you so much. I cannot tell you how happy this makes me. It really, people might say that I'm acting. I'm not. This is like the happiest.
Nobody has ever said that about you.
This is the happiest I've been in a long time. And I am so grateful. And I'm also so proud because I have tried a lot of eyelashes. Can I tell you this? Because, I'm kind of I'm a theater performer and we wear eyelashes. Ardell is the best. I'm just going to say it flat out. Ardell is the best. Julie gives me life, says Miami Beach Kevin. Well, bless you, Kevin. Get the Ardell Wispies. And thank you for tuning in. Should we bring Ruby in?
Let's talk to Ruby for a second.
Oh, what?
Let's talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Look, it's Ruby again.
Ruby.
Hello.
I think Ruby has some news.
I know.
Let's talk.
I do have some news. Yeah. So I produce Julie's show. I produce Jim's show every Monday. I produce a ton of shows throughout the week for all different clients. And, I figured I really didn't have that much to do. So I decided, why not host my own show and produce that as well? So it's actually on the Cast Party Network. So the same network as Virtual Halston and Pajama Cast Party. So I'm actually producing and hosting a monthly show called The Talkback, and our first guest is none other than the Kristen Chenoweth. So insanely fabulous, and a friend of mine since I was really little. So it's basically a monthly talk show primarily aimed at the rising class of theater stars, because right now, you know, we're living in to quote Julie Halston, we're living in a global pandemic. And
we knew that was coming.
That was a good imitation of Julie.
Thank you so much. And so, you know, schools are closed, auditions aren't happening, and there's no way for the rising class of theater kids and future theater stars to really be like gaining information right now. So I wanted to start a monthly talk show. If you want to purchase tickets, you can simply just email castpartynetwork@gmail.com. This show is September 1st at 5 p.m. Eastern. Tickets are only $10. We wanted to make it super, super affordable. So again, that's the Talkback, and we're so incredibly excited about it.
Good for you, Ruby.
This is amazing. First of all, I have eyelashes if you need them.
Thank you so much.
I just need some clarification. Kristen who? Who's that? Kristen who?
Oh, you know, maybe I should say it again. It's Kristen Chenoweth. I've heard she's like an up and coming. I've heard she's got a great voice. So
I've heard
why
that too.
want to have her on? Yeah.
You're going to have so much fun with her.
Oh,
I
I'm
can't
so excited.
wait. Did you see her Instagram post yesterday where she has the COVID test and somebody puts a Q-tip 9 inches up her nose,
Up her
and
brain.
then she
Up
goes,
her brain.
then she into her brain, and then she hits a high note that truly your adenoids clear out, the sinuses clear. It's hilarious. Go look at Kristen's Instagram page.
She's also just a really fantastic human being. And that's one of the things that we love the most about so many talented people, like our guest today, Andrew Rannells. I feel the same way about him. Can we just tell people why we're doing this? Why we're doing this? We're hoping because we are entertaining you, but we're also doing this because we do give a portion to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation, which is near and dear to my heart. And there we have it, Venmo, PayPal. I really do believe between Ruby and you, Jim, and myself, and a few of our friends, that we have the greatest, most loyal viewers, the most generous viewers, the greatest fans. So I just thank you again. And please, again, feel free to tip. No donation too small or too large. And Jim, we've been getting some imitation of Julie tape.
I know.
And one of them particularly, I have to say, is a classic.
Now, I do think our guest today might have a little imitation of Julie in his repertoire. We'll have to ask about that.
Oh, okay. He might. But we just want to keep it going before we make our winner. And the winner, of course, does get a darling mug. A darling. And I'll not the whole box, but they will get a pair of Ardell wispies. So I'm very excited. And
will you sign the Ardell wispies?
I will sign the wispies. I may even throw in the duo eyelash adhesive as well. Yes.
I mean, for that alone, I think you people should all be doing your finest impression of Julie Halston for imitation of Julie. Put it on a video, put it on an audio, whatever you want to do. Just do what you need to do to perfect your Julie Lynn Halston, situation. Now, speaking of Julie.
Yes.
Can I brag on you for a second?
Okay.
Okay, then. New York Times today. That.
Oh, there it is.
A wonderful piece by Elizabeth Vincentelli, an incredible friend to all of us on the Broadway cabaret music scene. She wrote a wonderful piece about virtual Halston. And I mean, that's pretty great. After how many? 12 episodes, 13 episodes?
Yes. I love that I'm kooky.
You're kooky.
Again. And
you are.
A kooky. And I'm also, I have oxymoronic, low-key flamboyance. Low-key flamboyance, whatever that is, and I love it.
I don't know if I've ever thought of low-key and Julie Halston in the same, conversation, but listen, if Elizabeth says it, we're happy about it.
We're very happy about it. She is one smart cookie, and
She is.
So
Great writer.
And we're so delighted. So thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you again to all that are watching. Okay, Jim, I think we have to get to the main event.
I think it's time.
I think people are going to be like screaming. Yes, full disclosure, he's a friend, so you can be jealous, because we're going to bring on our guest. And who is our guest today? Well, I have the pleasure of, I've worked with many, many talented, many smart, terrific, fabulous human beings. But honestly, this guy stands out. He really can do it all. He can sing, he can dance, he can act, he can direct, he can write, he can produce, he can do voices. He's the best TV guest that you would ever want to see, but he's also the kind of person who just shows up 100% for everybody all the time. He's the original person that says yes. And I just admire and adore him. Welcome, everyone. Andrew Rannells.
Julie.
Oh, my goodness.
Julie, thank you for that. That was such a lovely introduction.
Well, it's actually true.
Well, thank you.
I mean, sometimes I have to lie a little, but
I imagine sometimes, I'll be honest, I'm still recovering from the fact that you wear lashes. What are you talking about?
You thought they were just mine.
I thought you were just fully blessed in the eyelid department. I'm so happy to be here, and congratulations on all the show's success and especially a New York Times shout out. That's very exciting.
It really is exciting, and apparently there's going to be more New York Times stuff. I just got another email, someone else from the New York Times. So it's kind of good.
Just one, Julie.
What, honey?
You can't stop with just one.
No, I can't stop at just one. But, honestly, and this is, we've talked a lot about this, nothing just happens by accident, really.
Yes.
It really was Jim Caruso and Ruby who just kept saying to me, you really need to do this. You really need to do this. When the pandemic started, I was just like, I'm going to go to bed for 4 months, stick with the cats, just get drunk. I've had it. You know what I mean? Listen, I died 8 years ago. This is a hologram that you're seeing. I don't need to do a show and have kids.
Yes, you do need to do a show, and we all need you to do a show. So
that's what happened. Now, can we talk about Andrew Rannells?
We can.
Okay. So we met doing Hairspray.
We met doing Hairspray. It was 2005, like January 2005. I joined the cast, and I was an understudy at the time. I was playing Fender, the nicest kid in town with the glasses. And I'll never forget, I was just backstage. I was just like meeting people, and you came up to me and you said, "Should I learn your name?" And I said, "If you want to." And you said, "Because a lot of these people don't stay long."
It's true. I did. And then John Hill, who was playing Fender at the time, wonderful John Hill, who has his own show, I believe, on Sirius XM.
Yes.
And a lot of people know him. He's got a big following. He was playing Fender. And the minute I saw you, I said, should I know your name? And I looked at you. And John Hill, I could tell, was already getting a little like, what's going on? Because I was sort of the mamala of the group at that point. Instead of being a hologram, and I was still alive. And John Hill later said to me, "What's with that guy, Andrew? I mean, you suddenly seemed very friendly with him." And I was like, "John, you're dead to me now. You're dead to me. It's all about Andrew." And we laughed about it.
I feel like we did that show together I don't know if you were there when I became Link Larkin.
Oh, yes, I was. I was there for 2 years almost.
All right. Yes, and then you left us, and then I stayed for a little bit longer. Yeah, but we've been friends ever since. Ever since 2005, we've been.
Yeah. So it's been a while, but let's just say that you really burst into the consciousness of the world when you did the Book of Mormon, and I think we have a pic of that. Where is our Book of Mormon? Oh, I believe.
That's me.
I watched your Tony show, I believe moment, and I've watched it many times. I just cry because if you'll indulge me for a second, Andrew, and of course you'll talk at some point. But Stephen Aramis, the wonderful musical director and arranger, and I were just talking about this yesterday on Facebook. I went to the dress rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
You invited me to the dress rehearsal.
Yep.
I cried during the whole thing because I was watching my friend Andrew Rannells become a big star in like a room of 30 people. And I'll never forget it. After the show, I was just a mess. And I kept saying, this is a game changer. This is a game changer. And then somebody came over, and I don't remember who. It might have been Casey Nicolau, the director. And he said something like, don't you think Andrew can be a special guest on Glee? And I went, fuck Glee. He's going to have his own show. Fuck Glee. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. You said fuck Glee, and then you said, I can't talk to you right now. I can't talk to you right now. And you left. But I think she liked it.
I left. I said, I can't talk to you because I was weeping. And I did. I left. And I think I called Charles Bush, and I just said, I've just seen the game changer for Broadway. And honestly, Julie, the same. I don't know what that means exactly. I love it. But anyway, so tell us a little bit about, though, your experience with that. Did you think to yourself, oh, this is going to be a hit Broadway show? Did you know it was going to be the phenomenon that it became?
No, I think that we all thought it was really funny, and we were very proud of it and very happy, obviously, to be a part of it. But we also knew it was kind of risky, and the material was not sort of typical Broadway fare. But I think we were all confident that we would find an audience. It might be a small audience, and they sort of prepared us that we were moving into a smaller Broadway house. We were not targeting a huge audience. We were really going to sort of hone in on a specific audience, and
like the South Park audience, maybe.
Yeah. But then for it to sort of take off the way that it did, and for cut to years later, the show played in Salt Lake City on tour. I don't think anybody could have foreseen that was going to be the case. So I think we were all really sort of blindsided. And Nick and Josh, Nikki and Josh and Rory and I still remain very close, as do most of the cast. We're all still in touch. And we think back on that time. It was like such a sort of a blur. As you know, like if you open in the spring, you go from opening to then all of a sudden you launch into the Tonys, and then all of a sudden that happens, and then it just the first year goes by in kind of a blur. So we were very fortunate that we were with a really great group of people to share that time with.
And that's what we just experienced with Tootsie, actually. And I can't imagine what Santino was going through, because same thing. He opened in the spring. We opened in the spring, and there was so much talk about his performance. But there was a lot of pressure, And
the thing that people sometimes forget is that you do have to keep doing the show 8 times a week. And I remember talking to Cynthia Erivo about this when she was doing The Color Purple, that we didn't do a ton of press for the Book of Mormon because they were trying to keep a lot of it kind of quiet in terms of what the song sounded like and what the story points were. But we did still do a lot. And the reality is you're doing all of that during the day, and then you still have to go back to the theater at night and give a performance that is worthy of the chatter. So it's a wonderful position to be in, but it's a lot of work. It was just, I look back on it extremely fondly, and almost 10 years ago, which is very strange to me.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. And what people should know is, of course, like you're saying, it's not a complaint, because let's face it, it's fantastic, but it's an athletic event.
Yeah, you sort of train for it your whole life and your whole career, but you're still never quite prepared for what it's going to feel like when you're like, and now what are we doing? But I will say again, that group was so wonderful. That cast was so incredible, and we all just sort of banded together and we're like, we'll get through this and we'll do it, and we did.
It was a game changer, and fuck me. Anyway, then what I thought was so fantastic was, and this is, why I think you're such a special situation. You easily made the transition to television. Many people on the theater, and you got to do another fascinatingly cultural zeitgeist moment when you were in Lena Dunham's Girls, when I believe she created Elijah in Girls for you.
She rewrote it for me.
Rewrote it.
She had a version of the character sort of written, and then she was at opening night of the Book of Mormon and saw me, and then I got a call shortly after that to like come in and read for this character, even though I wasn't quite right for it. And then after we met, and I had never spoken dialogue on camera before. I had never done any. I had done one film role, which was I was a headless stripper on Sex and the City. But I obviously, as a headless stripper, you don't have lines. But so I had never done it before. And then they just asked me to come and do this episode. And it was just Lena and I. It was just a scene of the two of us. And she was directing it, but Judd Apatow was there producing it. But I just, it was one of those moments where you just I had to say, sort of as a human, I was like, well, fuck it. I don't know how many chances I'm going to get like this. So don't be nervous. Just do what you do. They hired you to do this. So just trust that you're good enough to do it and don't second guess it. And it was a lot of improv. And we just kind of had to roll with it. And it was such a great introduction to that world. And then that ended up lasting 6 years. We did that show. So it was pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah. I remember the first time you came on screen, I just was like, even if I didn't know him, I would just be like, boom, boom. I remember actually my late husband, Ralph, saw a Book of Mormon before I did, because he went with the Howard Stern people and they got in very early on. And he came home, and Ralph is pretty judgmental about things, but always very kind. I'm judgmental.
Fair. He was very
fair. Yes, very fair. I can be just bitchy, but but he was fair. But he came home. I'll never forget it. And he said, Andrew Rannells is going to be an enormous star. This is the best thing I've seen in years. And that kid, he said, that kid is going to be an enormous star, and he's going places. And I was just like, oh, okay, Ralph. And boy, was he right. He was so right. But you took off as Elijah. It became a very popular character. And I think we have a picture that you may want to see where that Ruby made.
The fun fact about that photo, I'm not wearing pants.
Well, you can tell that story if you want.
No, I think that was part of the scene, was that I was just not wearing pants. Like, I rarely wore clothes on that show. I was naked a lot. I was in my underwear a lot. I just that was just sort of part of the deal. That was such a fun show to do, because it was, for so much of us, it was our first job in television.
Right.
And we just kind of got to, feel it out all together. And it was especially fun for me because I was about 10 years older than the rest of them. So I was sort of revisiting my early 20s, but didn't have to live there full time.
Yes.
So nice. It was nice to have the security of being in my 30s, but then also getting to pretend that I was back in my 20s for a little bit. It might have stunted my growth for a couple of years, but it did. It was nice not to actually have to be there, just to revisit it. Yeah.
Well, but I have to say, Andrew, I mean, and again, I'm gushing a little, but I do remember the episode where you fall in love with Corey.
Yeah.
And he rejects you ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And you were really broken up.
Yeah.
And it was a very real moment. And it wasn't like, because, Elijah was very snarky and funny, glib, very glib. But this was a really terrific acting moment. And I think it really showed everyone, hey, guys, I'm an actor.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that was also the great part about working with Jenny Connor and with Lena Dunham is that, and Bruce Kaplan, that like at a certain point in the run of that show, they did give everybody sort of their moments and their storylines. And, it started off as a character that was only supposed to be there for one episode. And then for that to turn into a recurring role that then turned into a regular role, like that's a dream for an actor to sort of have one of those things that then just goes right. And then all of a sudden I had 6 years of employment. That was crazy.
It was crazy, but it was fantastic. And of course, we understood because we all fell in love with those characters.
Yeah.
Now, all right, so we're going to go back in time a little. But first, I do want to mention that you're a very, very good TV guest. You've been on a lot of the shows, Colbert and Seth Meyers and James Corden and,
Allen.
Yes, Katie Couric. Katie. Yeah, that's so funny. That's a very good imitation. But you're a very, very good TV guest. And I know a lot of people are very talented, but they're terrible guests. They just, they either drone on too long. They don't know how to speak fast. You do need to speak fast when you're on those talks.
Yeah.
And you've been on so many of them, but you're very good at it. But can you tell us what you think is a really important part of being a good TV guest?
Well, I feel like fast is definitely good.
Yes.
I think what I learned pretty early on, because, when we're doing the Book of Mormon, there's not a lot of talk shows that will just have Broadway actors on just for fun.
Right.
Jimmy Fallon had Josh and I on multiple times during the time that we were on the Book of Mormon, individually and together. And he was always so generous to us. And what I learned pretty quickly was for those talk shows, they do a pre-interview like the day before where you talk about a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
You talk about a lot of things. And the reality is the interview lasts for about 4 to 5 minutes. And you may be on the phone with someone for like 20 minutes, just like talking about whatever. But then when you get there, it's about 5 minutes, I think, 5 to 6 minutes. And then as it might get longer as your career goes on, but like those initial interviews are pretty quick. So you've got to have your talking points ready. And what I learned pretty quickly was just to like pre-prepare my stories that I was going to tell. And even if they didn't ask the question, I was going to be like, and another thing, like shoehorn it in, because if I knew it was funny and I knew it was going to work, I was like, I'm just going to get it in. But you have to sort of like look alive. And they're all of those folks that you mentioned they're such talented interviewers that they really just go with you wherever you are wanting to go. So if you have an idea, the worst thing is to wait for a question. Like if you sit there and wait for them to be like, so then what happened? It's not going to go well. So you have to go in with a mission. And Seth Meyers, I'm just like blown away by every time I go on the show, and I watch the show almost every night. And I just think he's so fast and so smart, and he's so great at it. But such a great interviewer that even if like something comes up that like you have not discussed, Seth will just like go with you very easily.
Yes. And they're also very facile, but they're also, if they're really good, they're well read and they know what they're talking about. So you actually have to keep up with it.
You do.
I have found that the worst kind of guests are the people who, one, feel that their families are funny. That's generally because they're usually not, unless they're really, really interesting. Talking about your kids is really not that interesting. And we never want to hear about what your process is.
Well, no, that's the really hard part as an actor. If people start asking you questions about like the character, and like you have to pivot quick. You're like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about donut holes. We're talking about Maker's Mark. We're talking about the time the glass. We're just gonna get that all in there.
Yeah.
Pick it up. Yeah.
And sex is always good. Sex is always good to talk about. But
James Corden is fantastic at that. And James Corden has a weird job in that he has to juggle because it's like a British chat show style. So everyone's on the couch at the same time. Yes. So James has got to chop it up. And he does a really crazy job of like keep giving everybody focus and making sure everybody's okay. Because I've done that show many times. And like sometimes you'll get with somebody who does not want to share focus. And you don't want to seem like a bully. But then sometimes you just have to be a bully and be like, and another thing.
And another thing. No, I remember years ago, I don't think they do it now because people are more evolved, but I remember watching talk shows because I love talk shows, clearly. And I always hated when the men would come on, usually the straight men would come on and they'd ask about, and how is your wife? You know, I don't know, Janelle or whatever. They'd say, oh, she just had a baby. And, you know, she has the toughest job in the world. She's a mother. I mean, I would scream at the television, like, you goddamn patronizing piece of crap. They're all there to talk about their careers. They don't care about the woman who just had their baby. Just made me crazy. Made me crazy.
People are crazy.
Yeah. But
crazy. I also hate when people ask about like, are there any pranks on set? Like I have not experienced that. No one has asked me that. But I feel like, and I'm not a talk show host, but I feel like that must be somewhere in the back of the handbook that like if things aren't going well, then you're like, any pranks on set? Sometimes.
By the way,
I also have to say about your outfit. Now it's become clear. I thought you were naked under that wrap, and I was like, "Shit, Halston is coming in hot after that New York Times." She's just doing there's a camisole.
I have a camisole.
Like, wow, Julie's going for ratings.
Well, Andrew, I mean, I think people know how old I am.
No, they don't. Someone asked me today, and I was like, I don't have a clue.
Oh, okay. But, I have died about 8 years ago, and I am a hologram. But I am really not a young woman at all. But I think I look good.
You look great.
I think I look good. It's well, thank you, honey. Thank you. All right. Well, back to you. And first of all, I also want to say, though, why are we doing this? First of all, because we love talking to these incredible people like Andrew Rannells, but also we have to pay for the platform. We don't have to pay for my eyelashes anymore because I now have these. But yes, there we are. We give a portion to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation, which is so near and dear to my heart. And I just thank my viewers so much. I cannot tell you, Andrew, every week people tip us, and some celebrities, some, folks down the block, friends, family.
The shows you started very early on in Ralph's diagnosis of raising awareness and funds for this organization. And I feel like from the second you thought you could be helpful, you jumped in and you did it. And those early shows and the shows that you do now at Birdland were so inspiring. And it's a testament to how much people love you and love Ralph that you were immediately able to get all sorts of folks to come and perform and raise funds and awareness. And I feel like it's just so beautiful that we are continuing to do this. And anytime, Julie Halston, I'm always here to help with that.
Thank you. And as I said in my introduction, you're a yes person. That's what I've always loved about you. You just say yes,
My nickname in college.
Right. There you go. All right. Now we're going to go back again in time. I think we have a picture of young Andrew. Where's young Andrew? There. Oh, he's called. Oh. How old are you there, Andrew?
13.
13.
Wow. I'm wearing a silk shirt. It was my first headshot. I was doing a production of on Golden Pond at the Firehouse Dinner Theater in Omaha, Nebraska. And I was asked to provide a headshot for like the lobby wall of like, this is our cast. And I only had a school photo, and I was like, I don't look like an asshole. Like, I need like a fancy photo. So my mom called a wedding photographer that she knew.
I love it.
And the wedding photographer took that headshot. And that was my headshot for many, many years while I was
Until recently. That was your head.
I still tried to use it for a while, but yeah, just a silk shirt and leaning over a stool. I mean, some of the things that like some of the headshot photographers that I went to early on in New York, some of the things like the trends that you had to get into, and everyone's doing a 3/4, everyone's doing a color all of a sudden. Do an off center, off center.
I remember that.
You know, one of my favorite, is this, I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but do you know, so Carol Shelley,
Yes.
in Wicked.
Yes.
That is her headshot in the original Wicked, is that it's a horizontal headshot and she has her other hand like this.
Oh dear.
Look at that.
Dear. Oh dear. I mean, I love Carol Shelley, but what were you doing? The Pigeon Sisters at that point? What's that?
But I was like, I know that setup. I know that we're supposed to be like this in the picture. So maybe she was just like, is it here? And then she like, I don't know. But that was a trend. It was a trend. And then there was sort of a trend too. At one point I saw, well, as they moved into color, because remember, for a long time it was black and white. Then it was color. And then we had a lot of people outside, but they'd be sitting on a log and they'd be like, yeah.
You know, and it's like, wait a minute. This is not a porno. It's a
Did you ever have a composite?
Oh, I did once.
Did you? I never did, but I was always like, did you do it? So for those of you who are watching who don't know, a composite was quartered. It was an 8x10 that was quartered. And then one would be like a smiley shot. One was a serious shot.
Yeah.
Like you with a phone being like, one was a girl. And the other one was like you was like a mugger, or like maybe it was a doctor or like a clown, or like to show like what you could play.
Mine was a funny face one. Like I had me serious, smile, kind of pretty. But then there was like, do you know what I mean? Like, crazy lady. And honestly, it was rejected. The agency rejected it, and because it was so crazy. And they just said, let's just go with you smiling. And that was it. It never really worked anyway.
That was a short-lived trend.
It certainly was. But
you were reproductions on 9th Avenue or whatever, 8th Avenue.
Remember that? Reproduction.
And get your headshots. And I would always look at those composites and be like, should I get a composite? What is my commercial look?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. You're bringing up so much. Well, again, let's go to the 1980s, because you and I have talked a lot about the 1980s. Sure. You were very influenced by the 1980s because you were growing up. And you talked about influences. Like, what were your favorite, like, films or TV shows at that time? Or
in the 80s, I mean, I think at a very young age, I mean, and this is sort of like I'm learning this now with my boyfriend's kids, of like, because they've started watching this series of movie called The Descendants on Disney, which is like a series of musicals.
Yes.
But they're not sort of, traditional musicals. But I feel like it's a good gateway. So my gateway as a child into musicals was Grease 2.
Oh, guess what?
Michelle Pfeiffer, Maxwell Caulfield.
We have a little video for you. I think you might remember this. Ruby, can you cue up that little video, because you loved Maxwell Caulfield? He was. This is Maxwell. Darling, we're sending you this video because we know you're a big fan of Maxwell, but also it's our final day, and I'm just very sad to see this wonderful team of Juliet and Maxwell leaving us. But anyway.
I'll do the talking now, Juliet.
Yes.
You're going to tear it up on stage in about an hour and crack the house up. She has been absolutely stellar during this engagement. Andrew, it's great to connect with you. Thank you for housing these humble thesps in your absence, and sorry you're not getting to watch it live. It's really been a hoot and a half.
Andrew, Hi.
He said my name.
How about that, Andrew?
Said my name.
I was staying at your house in LA. You allowed me to stay there while I was doing, I think it was the Divine Sister, the LA Theater Works. Yes.
Yeah.
And many people know Maxwell Caulfield is married to Juliet Mills, the nanny and the professor.
Yeah.
I guess, was that from the 80s?
I think more 70s.
70s, okay. And she, of course, is the sister of Haley Mills, who is my obsession. And guess what? Haley Mills might be on the show. Yeah, no, I'm not joking.
Both of them?
We're going to try for that. Wouldn't that be amazing? And then maybe we'll have Maxwell on as well.
Maxwell.
Tell me about your obsession with Maxwell.
I just love that movie. I thought it was so fun, and I thought Michelle Pfeiffer was like so great and fun in it, and like Tab Hunter is in it, and Adrian Zmed, and yeah, there's like so many. Lorna Luft is in it, so fun. So it's so great, and it's so silly, and there's something just like a little brighter and lighter than the original movie Grease. So I think as a kid, that's why I was a little more drawn to it. It's just like the colors are a little brighter. It's a little, and it's not quite as like sullen as the original Grease. I mean, the original Grease is great, but it's like a little dark, you know? It's a little it's like a little sassier and sexier. Anyway, Maxwell Caulfield, so freaking handsome, has like the best head of hair ever. He and Michelle Pfeiffer are so cute together. He has an accent. I don't know. I once at the Easter Bonnet competition, I forget what play he was doing, but I think Josh and I were presenting something at Easter Bonnet, and we were in the same dressing room with Maxwell Caulfield. And I finally got up the courage to say to him, I was like, Mr. Caulfield, I'm a big fan of your work. And I also just want to say you're like a huge part of my discovering my sexuality. And he said, you get that alone.
Well, let me tell you this. This is the thing that I just think is so sexy, besides the fact that he's a very good-looking man, and he's a very kind man and very talented or whatever. He is so in love with Juliet Mills.
He's been there since the like mid-'80s.
Yeah, and she is much older than he is, I believe.
I don't know what the age difference is, but yeah, but the fact that they've been married since like 1980 something is crazy.
But he is obsessive about her.
That's really
and
true.
That's when you kind of go like, wow, boy, and that is a hot couple.
Good guy.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Now, what I find fascinating is
I walked right into that trap. How did you know?
You did.
That's how you can tell we're friends.
What I think is so fascinating now, you're on Showtime's Black Monday, which is a show about the 1987 stock market crash, which I was there in, the stock market. I'll never forget Black Monday. All the partners of the firm closed their doors at the same time. And there was suddenly silence in the firm. And I remember, because I was the librarian / research manager, and I remember looking at my assistant and I said, something's very wrong. We had to look at like, it wasn't even a computer. It was sort of like a teletype kind of thing.
Scroll, yeah,
like a scroll. And we saw that the stock market had indeed crashed, and everyone shut their doors, and people went home.
Yeah,
very early, and nobody used to go home early. And if you went home at 5 o'clock, that was a joke because you always stayed later. And that was a really rough day. But did you do any research?
I did a lot of research. David Casp, our one of our show creators, his father was also in the stock market at that time. So, I mean, I did research as to the particulars of sort of what that event was and sort of what it looked like. The characters that Regina and Donna and I are playing, Regina and I actually benefit from Black Monday because we caused Black Monday in our show. So at a certain point, the research became a little moot because it was like we're sort of fudging with the timeline here a little bit, and also we were playing the opposite of what was actually happening, is that we benefited from this huge stock market crash. But it was really, I mean, it's such a fun period to get to be a part of, and especially knowing you, who had worked there at that time, and living most of my life in New York City, like all of that. It was like, and growing up with movies about that time in New York City, like it was really exciting to get to go back and sort of play around with that time. So it's a really fun show to get to be on.
It was a fascinating time, the 1980s. I remember Ivan Boesky, who went to jail. I actually remember being at a restaurant. I can't remember the name of the restaurant. And it was his last night before he went to jail. And I was there with a friend of mine, and we were all drinking Stingers.
Sure.
Stingers. And, yeah. And all of a sudden, he was drinking Stingers as well. And there was sort of a round of Stingers all around, like, it was like a steakhouse or something.
Sure.
And he, the next day, was carted off to jail.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing that was so crazy about that time and that little world, was the excess and then like the steep climb and decline of a lot of those people was really insane. So that's what we're playing around with on Black Monday, is that, these people have a lot going on and then all of a sudden have nothing going on.
Well, it's not unlike, in a sense, although because many criminals were involved there, but also we're in a very strange time right now because, there are people who are, really going to lose their homes. It's terrible. It's terrifying. Now you have become so famous. And by the way, I just want to encourage people once again, please feel free to tip us for, yes, there we are. PayPal, Venmo. Feel free to tip us. We have to pay for our platforms and send a portion to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation. I hope you're enjoying our time with Andrew Rannells. What, sweetheart?
I said, here I am. When Jim was asking if I could do an impression of you, I was like, what would my impression be? And most of them are inappropriate.
Okay. I think that's good.
There are things I can't repeat here. But then I did think of one thing. So Julie and the Hairspray cast and I would oftentimes find ourselves at this bar on 8th Avenue called Sosa Barella.
Oh.
Around the corner. Now it's closed, unfortunately. And there was a very sweet bartender, and I want to say his name was James.
Joey,
thank you. So Joey. So we would have a couple drinks at the Sarsaparilla, and it was like sort of a small plates type place. And there was like banquettes, and we would sit there. And then when we were finished with our small plates, and we were just about to be done, Julie would say, she would go, Joey, let's get a cookie plate.
it's true.
Let's get a cookie plate.
No, it really is true.
There was not a cookie plate on the menu, but then a cookie plate would arrive. I don't know where the hell they came from, but a cookie plate would arrive. And then we would have the cookie plate, and then we would go, let's have a cookie plate.
That actually is so true to form, because we would have sort of a last round.
Yeah.
To us, we'd have a last round, and then I just decided, because I usually hadn't been eating, because I don't like to eat. Yeah. A cookie plate. Libby Whitmore says a cookie plate. I didn't like to eat, but I love to drink wine. But then I would just feel that urge just for that little something sweet. That little something sweet. So we had to have a cookie plate. Joey, bring. And you're absolutely right. It's like, were they running around the block getting like...
There wasn't anything on the menu. And then they would just bring us a cookie. They were going to Food Emporium on 49th. That's where they were going.
You're absolutely right. Well, now, darling, this is such a good freaking interview, by the way. Oh, my God. Kev Picks, thank you so much. Don't I have the greatest fans and watchers? Oh, my God. Todd Tullis is a very dear friend of mine, and he's also a very big contributor to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation. He had a very beautiful mom named Kathy who did pass away from pulmonary fibrosis, and he's actually become, he was someone who just came to the events. Wow. And he was so handsome and so sartorially splendiferous that I decided, and gorgeous gay man, I had to find out who he was.
Who's that?
I had to, and we are now real friends.
Oh.
Like real friends. So thank you, Todd. He's enjoying this immensely. Andrew, you're so famous now. You actually have, I think Ruby can bring this in. You have a celebrity cutout of yourself.
I do?
Yes. Did you? There it is.
Oh.
Did you not know?
No, a celebrity cutout.
Well, wait. It's 1997 to 69.97. What does that mean?
I would imagine it is based on sizing.
Maybe. Or maybe there's one that's huge.
Yes, Julie, you can order all different sizes of said cutout. I did some digging. It's kind of the best website I've ever found it.
All right.
Okay, I love that Ruby just flies in for a minute, like she's Elphaba.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Andrew, Ruby is 21 years old.
Congrats.
Yeah. Bitch, girl.
No, Ruby. No, that's wonderful. I'm so happy you're so young and so successful.
Yeah. Bye, Ruby. And guess what, though? This is the thing, Andrew. This is what I love. Sometimes life is very magical. And I'm not into magical thinking, but her mother is Victoria Shaw, whom I've now become friends with. Her mom is an award-winning country music writer. I believe she has a Grammy, and she works with all the biggies. She works with Garth Brooks. She works with, Reba McEntire. She knows them all. She's worked with them all. And now she has her own show on PBS.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes. And Victoria Shaw used to come up to New York, and she used to play piano and sing. And she had a life here in New York. And then she started going to Jim Caruso's cast party, and she brought little Ruby when Ruby was 6 years old. And now Ruby is a performer, and now Ruby's going to have her own show, and now Ruby's going to have an article in Broadway World. Bitch, 21.
Circle continues.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of younger viewers want to ask Andrew about falsetto, so we have to ask about falsetto.
Sure. I love falsettos.
So yes. So let's take some questions about falsettos.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. All right, Ruby, bring on the questions about falsettos. Here they come, I think. Maybe. Sort of.
We have so many questions. They're coming in quite fast, and not all of them are phrased as questions. So I'm going to kind of decipher for the viewers. But Andrew, a lot of people just want to know about the production process of falsettos. And I mean, it really did have such an effect on so many people, myself included. I saw it quite a few times. And I mean, everybody just wanted to know, what was it like going through the rehearsal process and putting it up? And, did you really notice the effect that it had on the younger audience specifically?
Well, that rehearsal process was, I don't think I can ever beat that rehearsal process professionally. First of all, working with James Lapine and William Finn on that particular show was such a dream come true. And that show was such a big reason of why I even wanted to, become interested in musical theater. So there was that. And then that cast, that incredible cast, we all just sort of gelled and fell in love so quickly. And it's very rare to do a musical that's that small, or at least in my experience has been rare. So that also added to sort of the magic of it. But I will say what was most moving was that it did reach a young audience. I think that it was a limited run. It was through Lincoln Center. We knew we had this 16 weeks to do the show. And the fact that young people kept coming back and seeing it and coming back and seeing it. I think we were all so incredibly moved and encouraged by that story still rang true in a way, because I mean, we were explaining something, not to get, I don't want to bring the mood down, but explaining sort of the AIDS crisis to a generation of folks who maybe hadn't thought about it in those terms before, was quite a hefty load. So the fact that people saw it and recognized it for what it was really moving to all of us. So it's just an incredible experience. I can't say enough good about that.
Do you have a favorite song from Falsettos? Candy 17 wants to know.
Well, you know what? I didn't sing it, but I would love when Christian sang "What More Can I Say," and I just had to like lay on his chest while he sang that song. I think it's such a beautiful song. It's one of the most beautiful musical theater songs ever. I mean, there's so many great moments in that show, and I got to watch so many of them because we were on stage for most of the performance. But that moment I will always really treasure, just laying on Christian Borle while he's singing the song.
Yeah, it's an incredible. We had Mary Testa and Allison Fraser on, and
Fraser, who actually, she's incredible. She's incredible and has such a deep history with that show, going back to In Trousers, and her hands are all over those performances.
And what was amazing is Mary and Allison talked about the fact that when they were doing it at Playwrights Horizons In Trousers, they would rehearse from 12 midnight to 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was like guerrilla theater.
Well, and James told us that when they were writing In Trousers that Andre Bishop basically said, like, you can have the space and you don't know what the show is, but you can do it. That's not a thing that would ever happen anymore. No one, not even the most progressive, wonderful producer we know, would ever allow a team of people to say, like, we trust you.
Right.
Just go do it, and we'll see what happens. But isn't that incredible that that's what came out of it? Is this beautiful legacy of shows, just because Andre Bishop trusted those men to say, we believe in you, and we'll see what happens.
But also, what an incredible legacy of performers who said, we're going to waitress during the day or whatever, and then from midnight to 4 in the morning, we're going to work on this piece that we believe in.
Well, and then going back to Hairspray, when I joined Hairspray, and you were already there, Barbara Walsh was there.
Yeah.
And Walsh was Trina on Broadway in the original Broadway production, and I enjoyed the hell out of her because I would ask her questions about falsettos, and she was like, enough. Can't you ask me a Blood Brothers question?
Oh my God, you're making me laugh. By the way, folks, feel free to tip us if you're enjoying this show. I am having so much fun with my friend, the great Andrew Rannells. You have played yourself on The Simpsons and Glee.
I did.
I call it Fuck Glee. But what is it like to play yourself?
Well, initially, I mean, The Simpsons was like a great honor that they called and they said, we would like you to be on The Simpsons. I would have done anything on The Simpsons. So I was very excited about that. And then I got to sing like a musical number, and it was so funny, and I loved that show so much. On Glee, yes, I was also asked to play myself. I was like a little surprised because I was like, I don't know what this means. What I had to do was give Leah Michelle a Tony Award.
Okay.
For a performance in I forget what the show was, but that's what I had to do.
Okay. Was Gwyneth Paltrow around at that point?
She was not. No, it was actually a fun day. It was Jonathan Groff and I, who were already friends. So it was really just like hanging out with Jonathan Groff all day.
Oh, well, that's fun. That's good.
It's super fun.
And now, let me ask you, are you still working on the prom?
No, we're all done with the prom. We finished the prom. We finished the prom right as all of the pandemic COVID madness kind of started. So I don't know how, I mean, it just timed out in a way that I think we had finished just about everything. I think they owed one scene. So we feel very fortunate that like they were able to finish it, and we did it. And it's all done now. And So I'm very excited for folks to see that very soon, I think. But that was a crazy experience to get to go from Ryan Murphy just calling me one day. I was walking home. It was like on the street. He was like, "We're going to do a film version of The Prom, and I want you to do it. And it's you and Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman and James Corden."
Who are they?
He's like, yeah, sure.
I guess so.
And then days later, they were like, "Here's your offer," and I was like, "What the heck?" Like Ryan Murphy is just he really makes things happen in an amazing way, and is an incredibly generous man. But put together such a great group of people, and man, oh man, there wasn't a day on that set where I wasn't like, "What the what?
What is happening?" But wait, before that, did you work on Boys in the Band?
Boys in the Band. So we finished the Boys in the Band movie. That comes out October. I don't want to say the wrong date, but I believe it's early October on Netflix. So we finished that, and I've seen it, and it's so great. And it's the original cast of that Broadway show. The cast of our revival cast.
Right.
So it was just an incredible experience to go back and revisit that show with all of that cast. It was so crazy.
And is that where you met your boyfriend, Tuck Watkins?
That is where I met Tuck Watkins. We met doing the readings of Boys in the Band. So this was a couple years before we even started rehearsals or anything. And then we got into the run of the show. And Julie,
I do.
You know how romance blooms.
I do. Well, for me, it was all about doing an interview. Ralph opened the door to the studio, and listen. I didn't even want to do this interview. I was like, I don't want to do some radio interview for 10 Wins. I was on my way to LA to do a development deal for me. What do I want? And he opened that door, and that my husband had a beautiful voice, and he was a very sexy guy. And he opened the door and he said, "Hello, Julie Halston." And I just was like, I wish I washed my hair. I wish I washed my hair. And I married him. Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, we're running out of time, but there's so much because Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman. Do you call them? Do you have dinner with them? What's going on?
I mean, no. Well, we all had to, quarantine. But I will say that, there is a text chain and an email thread, and there are, you know what I mean? Like, we stay in touch, and that was just sort of the biggest, I was so nervous to start. And then when I realized that James and I had been friends before, so I sort of, we were comfortable with each other. But with Meryl and Nicole, I was so intimidated and so afraid, but they are collaborative, wonderful actors who just want to be actors and a part of the cast and a part of the team. And so it was a great experience. It was a really great experience.
Well, I admire Nicole because she also doesn't eat very much. That's why I admire her.
No, I will say she eats. She does eat. Like, she does it. It's even more annoying than you think, Julie, because
okay, all right,
it's just like eaten. And
okay, but I admire that kind of appearance.
I know.
Like wreath-like. I hope you're enjoying, everyone. Welcome. If you're just starting, we're almost done, but you can watch us on the Cast Party Network or on my Facebook page later. I think we're going to bring Jim Caruso back in. Jim, where are you, Jim?
I'm right here.
Where the hell are you?
I'm very busy. Very busy.
Laptop, I swear to God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What happened? Ruby, where are you? Jim Caruso's in the dark. There he is.
Oh, hello. I've loved this conversation so much, but I want to ask Andrew, you're so smart, so funny, so you have such a great eye for what's right on stage and when you work. Do you see yourself directing?
Well, Jim, that's yes. So a couple of years ago, I wrote a column for Modern Love in the New York Times. There was an essay about a moment in my life that then later became a memoir that I wrote called "Too Much Is Not Enough."
We have a picture. We have a picture of your memoir. There it is.
And now that same Modern Love essay that I wrote is now going to be in the second season of Modern Love for Amazon. So we are, against all odds, we are starting production in just less than a month from now, and I'll be directing an episode that I wrote based on that essay.
Fantastic.
So my first time directing, which I'm very excited about.
What do you do to get ready for that?
I mean, there's a lot of support, obviously, and I've had some really great instruction with different directors that I've worked with in my career. So I feel like I've had a lot of people to look up to and a lot of people I can ask questions to. But I'm also surrounded by a really great team of people over there that have been super, super helpful. And the fact that I got to adapt my own story was very exciting. So, yeah. So I'm really, really excited. It's been a very new experience trying to write a fictionalized version of an event from your own life. So we'll see how that goes. But it was, but I'm really, really excited about it.
I smell success. Julie Lynn, don't you smell success?
I do. I think it's fantastic. There's nothing he can't do. You have a birthday coming up, darling.
I do.
And happy early birthday, Andrew. Candy Thief 17.
Thank you.
Thank you. Grace Lee, happy early birthday, Andrew. Andrew, my final question to you. What do you want your life to look like in, like, say, the next 3 to 5 years? Do you have any thoughts?
You know, I spent so much time in my 20s vision boarding and doing so much Gary Zukav work and like really trying to like figure that out. I can't say that I could ever imagine it, because even with the book, quite frankly, like I had always wanted to write and I always wanted to do it, but that would not have been something that I foresaw happening. So what I'm hoping to do is to stay open for everything and be prepared for anything, and just hope that I have my wits about me enough to engage in things that I feel like are going to be exciting and worthwhile and bring me a lot of joy. But I'm hesitant to sort of to pinpoint any one thing, because I feel like sometimes that sucks you off track a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, I used to do that with boyfriends, and Julie's met most of them. So, you know that the vision board is always a little skewed.
Oh, I did it for 9 years. I did it for 9 years. In between husbands, I was like, is this the one? Is this the guy? And then, you know, disappointment. Or I'd say like, he's kind of a bore. Or like, he's not sexy enough, or but whatever.
I wrote my book about a list that I came up with when I was 22. And one of the things was, he's social, but has less friends than I do. Okay. What's that? And to what benefit?
That's the quote.
You are
social, but
I also wrote tall, taller than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, that's where my head was. I don't know. Just like coming up with the most random suggestions for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I just did that for 9 years in between husbands. And you know what was so interesting was that when that door opened up, you know, to the studio, and Ralph said, "Hello, Julie Halston," I was spellbound. And it really was like a Cinderella moment, and I was literally so freaked out. I just went home and threw up. And then I realized I was in love.
But that's a Thursday for Julie.
I mean, she falls in love, she vomits, she falls down.
I know. I
We're a cookie plate, Joey.
I want a cookie plate. I hope everyone's enjoyed this show.
Well, we've certainly entertained ourselves, Julie.
Really do.
If you're watching the ticker go down, it's like you, me, Jim.
Ruby left.
Ruby's gone.
That's too bad. Yeah.
This is one of the best hour and 15 minutes we've ever had. I just am asking, I'm so delighted that so many of your young viewers and you have so many fans are with us this afternoon. I'm just asking you, please feel free to tip us on Venmo, because I know the young people are on Venmo.
Yeah,
Please feel free. $5, $10. That's all that would be so great in honor of Andrew and his wonderful talent, and also for the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation. And please subscribe to the Cast Party Network, and you can follow us. I am also on actress Julie Halston on Instagram. Oh, there we are, Twitter, Julie Halston. And please send in tapes of imitation of Julie.
Yeah.
We have some that are really, there is one that's quite amazing, I have to tell you. But the contest isn't over yet. There it is, Julie L. Halston at Gmail. Of course, you follow Andrew's The Andrew Rannells at The Andrew Rannells. And what else, Jim? I think, next week, you know who we have? We have
It's going to be good.
and Michael Urie.
Oh.
Come on.
Come on.
It's going to be good chat.
Ruby, you can't put that donation info up on the screen one more time, please.
Thank you.
One more time.
Thank you. Thank you
for having me.
Andrew, I love you so much, and you'll call me when you get here next week.
I will next week. I'll be there.
All right.
All right. Bye, Jim. Bye, Julie.
Bye.
Bye, Ruby. Bye, Jim. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. What more is there to say?